stitchless TV. Have you ever looked at a dress and thought, you know what, that would make the most gorgeous skirt? Well, today I'm going to show you how to do that. On Stitchless TV, we're going to take this house dress, are they called house dresses? And we're going to turn it into a very cute button front little gathered skirt. Now, I've been spending quite a lot of time recently with my mum in Italy because it was her 80th birthday. And all my aunties out there seem to wear these house dresses. Now, I actually quite like them. So this is a crossover version of one, and I think it's quite nice. And then they do these button front ones as well. But because I get lots of people asking me how to turn a dress into a skirt, that's what we're going to do today. Now, rather than measuring how long you want it to be, I think what's important is the placement of the pockets. And I think that they should sort of, if you're doing a skirt, and if it isn't too long, you might want the entrance to the pockets to sort of fall around your hip bone. Okay, but maybe that's just my preference, so you do what you want. In which case, that means that my waist is going to fall here. So I'm just going to cut the dress. It's always a bit nerve-wracking, but you've got to do it. Now, these house dresses are sort of quite cheap things. They're not really very expensive. So I don't know if you can see. I'll open this up. I was trying to follow the line of the pattern, but at the back I don't think it's very straight. So look, what happens if I stand back is it will go something like that, which I think is quite nice. That's quite nice, isn't it? But you know what? If I wasn't doing a skirt, what I'd naturally do is a sort of pinafore dress thing, but not today. We're doing a skirt. So the next thing that we need to cut out is the waistband. I know a lot of you struggle with the thought of buttonholes, so we're going to make use of the existing buttonholes for our waistband, just to make it really easy. So we're going to cut out a length of fabric that's going to become our waistband, okay? And I want to make use of the existing buttonhole. If there were two, it'd be even better, but we've only got one. So what we're going to do is this. We're just going to cut away a big strip of fabric. So what I want you to do is, I want you to measure your waist, okay, and then you need to cut a strip that is about 2 inches longer than your waist, so 5 centimeters longer than your waist measurement to allow for the overlap, okay. Now what I want you to do, so that you avoid doing a buttonhole, when you cut it out of the garment, capture one of those buttonholes, just one of them, okay, and then cut a strip that is about 3.5 inches wide and then 2 inches longer than your waist. Now my pattern just is not straight at all, okay, so ignore how it's all over the place. Now when you've done that, I had to do mine in pieces because it wasn't working out, but you can do it in one strip. When you've done that, you're going to get some interfacing and you're going to iron it on to the wrong side, okay? But I just want to make sure that you heard what I said about the buttonhole. Make sure that you incorporate the buttonhole as part of your strip that you cut out, and make sure that it falls on the correct side for buttoning up, and allow enough for you to be able to do that. Yeah, so you get about 1 centimetre seam allowance in there. Okay, so now we're going to iron our interfacing on. So when you've ironed your interfacing on like that, it's a good idea to press it as well. So sort of press it in half as the waistband is actually going to be. Now remember, we've got this buttonhole here, okay, which we're just sort of making use of, because if you're scared of buttonholes, it will make it kind of handy. So I'm just going to cut through the interfacing so I keep track of where that buttonhole is, even though I know it doesn't go through to the other side, but don't worry about that at the moment. So what we need to do is finish off this end. So we have to put the fabric right sides together like that, and we're just going to stitch with a small seam allowance, like 1/2 centimetre. Trim it back and then turn it the right way round. Okay, so turn your fabric right sides together, very simple. Fabric right sides together, and then a small seam allowance. Go forwards and back, and forwards and back at the end. Now, trim it back a little bit. If you need to mitre the corner, do, but you don't really, because it's a small seam allowance. So that's that end finished. Right, so that's nice and neat now, and you understand how that works, yeah? So that's going to overlap at the front like that. Now, I want to know where the back is. You know how I like to find the back. So I'm going to overlap it as much as it's going to be overlapped for the waistband. And then I'm going to pull it, because I want to know where the back is, and put a little notch like that in the back. So now I know where the back is. Now, do you know what? I want to know where the sides are too. So I'm going to fold it over only to the centre of the buttonhole, because then that's going to be the centre front really. And then I'll put some little notches in the waistband so I know where the side seams are. Okay, does that make sense? So that's all you've got to do for now, and now we're going to look at the skirt part. So I've overlapped it the same as the lower skirt overlaps, and I can see my little side seam notches there and side seam notch there on the waistband. So all of this is going to become excess. So we've got to gather that in like that. So I'm going to do a large straight stitch on the front, on the right, on the front, on the left, and then the same at the back. But before I do anything, so I want to know where the centre back is, so I'm going to put my fabric right sides together and do a little notch that signifies the centre back. So it looks like that. So now we're going to do the gathering. To do gathering, we need to choose or simple gathering anyway, we're just going to choose the biggest stitch on our machine, still straight stitch. Now it depends where you want to start your gathering. Okay, so large stitch, no backwards and forwards, just so about 1 centimetre away from the edge. Now I'm going to stop at the side seam, or a little bit away from the side seam, I didn't go backwards and forwards because I need to be able to do this. Get one thread. So I've just got one of the threads, the thread at the bottom, the bobbin thread, and I'm just going to gather up the fabric like that. Now you place that gathering wherever you feel is most flattering, but you need to go around and do that all over. So because I'm only doing one row of gathering and I don't want the threads to break, I'm going to do it from the side seam to the centre back, come off, then centre back to the side seam, and then go to the front. Right, so by gathering one of those threads and not both of the threads, you gather up your fabric and think about the placement of your gathers. But remember, it has to fit. It has to fit your waistband. Now, in this situation where we've got the buttonhole, you wouldn't normally do it like this, but because we're doing that buttonhole thing, I'm going to line up the edge of my waistband with the edge of the skirt fabric, and then I'm going to line up my side notch and get those threads out of the way. Going to line up my side notch with the side seam of the skirt, so I can see how much ease I've got to do, how much gathering I have to do in the skirt. So I think I'm going to do it a little bit more now to make it fit. And then when you think you have got a good fit, then sew in the well or in the line of your gathered line. But remember to change your sewing machine back to like a 2.5 or a 3. Now I can recommend working in stages. So maybe first do the front, then do half of the back, then do the other half. So we're turning our machine back to its normal straight stitch size. And let's just stitch this bit. So be careful with the pin that you have in there. Maybe it'd be better to put it on this side. So using the same seam allowance as the seam allowance that I've used for my gathering, put my needle in. You're going to go forwards and back. Switch the machine on. You're going to go forwards and back. Now I wanted this front bit to be a bit flat, so I've deliberately not got any gathering there, and we don't want to see our gather stitch line. Okay, so that's why we stitch on top of it, or maybe a little bit to the left of it. So if you're happy with the placement of your gathers, then just stitch it on. So I'm going to stop where the side seam of the skirt meets the notch on the waistband that signifies the side of the waistband. And I don't need to go backwards and forwards there. And then come off and have a look. So look, that's what we've got so far. Now you carry on and do that all the way round on your skirt. Okay, I need to show you this. So we're coming to the end. Okay, so this is our waistband, and this is the side where it didn't have the buttonhole. Okay, so we're coming to the end, and then that's the seam. Right, so we've got the waistband like that. Now this needs to come right up to that seam like that. So you've got to make sure that you stop right there. Okay, so I'm going to try and show you now. So we've got all our gathers, and we've only got that single there. Hopefully it's distributed nicely. Now as we come to the end, that is so important that that lines up perfectly with the end. So I'm sort of pulling it out, the facing part of it, and making sure I sew to the correct seam allowance, and then let's see if that's right. Now if it isn't right, you can always go in again, okay, so don't worry about it. So that should line up really nicely like that, because what happens is, so this is the other side, okay, so what happens is all of your stuff gets pushed inside, and then you get a really nice, neat finish on your waistband. Okay, so when you've done that, you're going to end up with something that looks like this. Okay, so now what we need to do is, we want to press all of our seams up. You know where you did all those gathers? I want them all to go up towards the waistband. So I thought I should show you this, because not only am I pushing the gathered seam allowance towards the waistband inside, I'm also folding back the waistband so it's in line with the stitch line. Now if I was going to do a stitch in the ditch, okay, from the right side, stitching in the ditch, then I'd make sure that my folding up falls just a bit longer than there. But for today we're going to do this method where we sort of bag it out. So it's really looking good, and we're nearly done. We've just got to finish off the inside of the waistband. Okay, so we've pressed it all. I guess I should show you something. There's always something, isn't there? You know these bits, I took them off and I did like little fake pockets at the back. I just slotted them in when I attached the waistband. It wasn't difficult, but I think they look quite nice. So, how do we do the waistband? How do we finish it off? So I'm going to show you that now. Now there are so many ways to finish off waistbands, but I'm just going to show you this way, okay? Let me just undo my skirt because it will make it easier. Right, I'm going to go on to the other side because that's more of a regular sort of situation. Now what we do is this, we turn it inside out, okay, and then shove as much of the skirt as possible inside, and then sort of pretend it isn't there. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but you're going to shove it all inside, pretend it's not there, and start, it's difficult because it's white, isn't it, and start just sort of stitching kind of like a sausage. All right, so you start up there, make sure you don't catch any of the skirt, so you've really got to push it all inside, and just go as far as you can. I've placed my skirt inside. I'm making sure I'm folding it exactly where the front folds back. It probably would have been easier to sew this from the other side because you can see the stitch line, but it's too late now. We're doing it this way. So, no stretching, no pulling, just pushing it all inside and just stitch along where you think is the equivalent to where the waistband should fold back really. So you'll get to a point where it's just too thick and you can't do it anymore. So just stop about there and don't go backwards and forwards, okay? Just in case you've made a mistake and you've caught some of the fabric. Now you're just going to try and pull the skirt out. Just do it sort of gently. Okay, so we just pull it out. I mean, it is one of those sort of magic things. I love a bit of magic in sewing. So you'll ease all of this stuff out, yeah? You know what I'm doing, don't you? So you ease out the corner, just ease out there. But that is quite a nice way to finish off a waistband, isn't it? Don't you think? It's really neat. Now, what you can do is you can still sort of do more of it by, if I poke some of this, I'll poke some of this out. You can still sort of do a little bit more. You keep going until you can't do it anymore, but like, I could still probably do that a little bit. Look, I could still keep going, line up my notch, keep going a bit more, and then maybe a little bit more. But you might not be able to do it across the back. So then you would do the back maybe by hand. Right, now this isn't a usual situation. It's because we were trying to include the buttonhole for you people that can't do buttonholes, because not all machines do them. So it is just a little bit different, but it isn't that different. So we're going to stuff all of that stuff inside, remember? We're going to put these two bits together so they line up nice and perfectly. And then, so I've got to move it. Okay, so I'm stuffing all the skirt inside, lining everything up. And then you're going to do a similar type of thing, okay? Or it's a similar thing. So you'll need to go backwards and forwards in the beginning. Make sure it's all stuffed inside, because you don't want to catch any of that skirt, okay? Stuff it all inside, and then sort of stitch along that press line that we did before, because we know that that should fall in the right place. But the most important thing is that you don't stitch on your skirt that you're sort of squeezing into this tube. Now, if this is too much for you, just finish it by hand or do that stitch in the ditch method. So I'm going to go backwards and forwards there, okay, because I'm sure I haven't caught anything. And then you've got to start easing your skirt out. Just do it really gently. But look, you must admit, that is pretty good, isn't it? It's very, very neat. Look at that. So go and give it a good old press, and we'll start to think about how we're going to finish off the back. Right, for this last little bit, I've decided to do it by hand. Now, I don't often finish things off by hand, but it looks so nice the way we bagged it out. I think I should finish it by hand, and it's so easy. Look, this is all I'm doing. I pick a little bit from one side and a little bit from the other side, a little bit from one side, a little bit from the other side, pull my threads, and you just keep doing that all the way along. So a little bit from one side, from the other. So it's quite nice to do it with a long, whoops, a long needle, and it's quite quick. So you just push in all those horrible threads. You just work your way along, so you won't see anything on the other side. So do it all the way along where you've got your opening. So when you've finished hand stitching your opening, it should look something like that, which is lovely and neat. Now, I've put a button on. I hope you don't mind. I assume that you know how to sew buttons on, so I didn't think I needed to show you. So let's do some of them up. Now, one more thing to deal with, and it's this buttonhole, okay? Now, we use this because lots of people don't like doing buttonholes, or they don't have access to a buttonhole machine. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch like a little square around that, and I should really do it in this light blue colour. Right, so this is all I'm going to do. I'm just going to sew like a frame. So a couple of stitches there around the existing buttonhole, and I've tried to match up a similar colour thread. I don't think I've done it brilliantly. So it's just like stitching a little frame, okay? You're using a straight stitch as well. And then just go back on yourself where you started. Now, let me cut those off. Now, all I'm going to do is just do like a little access slit in there. But because I've stitched that frame, it's not going to go anywhere, is it? And the front still looks really nice. So I just want you to see how when it's done up, look, so that's done up and it looks really professional and nice. Now I think that that is pretty good, look. Got lovely pockets, lovely waistband. I've got a feeling it's going to look a bit better on this teeny weeny dressmaker's dummy than it is on me, but I will try it on, even though I don't normally wear skirts like, well, I don't normally wear skirts actually, but I will try it on. Right, I never wear skirts like this, and do you know what? I don't think it's that bad. I quite like it, really, honestly. I thought it would make me look a lot bigger. I mean, I do think I look a bit big, but I do love the pockets. I like that bit of leg there, poking out there. Yeah, I think I quite like it. If you decide to get your grandmother or your nonnas or your auntie's house dress, make sure you ask her first. But if you do, and you decide to make it into a skirt or maybe a pinafore dress, because I am thinking of hoisting it up here, I have to say. Should you have a look at what it looks like? Yeah, let's look. Oh no, I really like that too. Oh, pinafore dress or skirt? We're going to have to do that question thing. Shall I make it into a pinafore dress or should I keep it as a skirt, or both? So thank you so much for watching Stitchless TV. Now if you want to see more upcycle projects, we've got quite a few of them and I should be creating a playlist. And thank you to my aunties, here they are again, for the inspiration for doing this project. And see you again very soon. We try to upload every Friday, unless of course we're on holiday in Italy or somewhere else. Bye!